The rumble started low, like distant thunder rolling across the Missouri flatlands. By the time the sun cracked the horizon on that October morning,
Oh, hello,
32
dear.
Harley-Davidson
Just checking
motorcycles
in.
were already tearing
I'm
down
glad you're
Highway
here.
50, their
I'm
chrome
here
catching
now,
the
darling.
first light of dawn
I
like a
knew
column
you'd
of
come.
steel soldiers
Always will. I
marching
love
to
you.
war.
I love you
At the
too.
head of the pack rode Colton Brennan, 66 years old, hands like worn leather wrapped around the handlebars of a 1996 Softail he'd rebuilt 3 times over.
Oh, thank you all so
The engine
much.
beneath him wasn't just machinery. It was a heartbeat, his heartbeat, the only thing that had kept him sane for the 5 years since Linda died. The wind cut across his face sharp and cold. He didn't mind. Cold meant you were still feeling something. Cold meant you were still alive. Behind him, 31 brothers followed in formation. Not brothers by blood, brothers by choice, by the road, by the unspoken code that when one man stood, they all stood. When one man fell, they all fell. They called themselves the Road Brothers Motorcycle Club. No fancy patches, no territorial wars. Just men who'd lived long enough to know that the world didn't give you second chances unless you took them yourself. The nursing home appeared ahead like a pale ghost against the autumn landscape. Riverside meadows, 3 stories of beige brick and manufactured cheer, the kind of place where old people went to wait. Just wait. Colton's jaw tightened. He knew that wait. He'd watched Linda take it one shallow breath at a time until there was nothing left but the quiet. The motorcycles roared into the parking lot at exactly 6 in the morning, 32 engines cutting through the silence like chainsaws through butter. Colton killed his ignition. The others followed suit one by one until the morning returned to its natural quiet. But the air still vibrated, still held the promise of something about to break. A nurse appeared at the front entrance, her face pale, hands already reaching for her phone. She was young, 20-something. The kind of young that still believed calling the authorities would fix things. Colton swung his leg over the bike. His boots hit the pavement with a sound like a judge's gavel. He didn't look at the nurse. Not yet. He was looking at the building. At the windows on the second floor, where he knew Vera Whitmore was probably just waking up. Probably already wondering if today would be different. It would be. Behind him, 31 men dismounted. They didn't speak, didn't need to. They wore their leather like armor, their silence like a weapon. Some had gray beards that hung to their chests. Some had tattoos that told stories their mouths never would. All of them had seen enough of life to know when a line needed to be drawn. The nurse's voice cracked across the lot. "You can't be here. I'm calling the police." Colton finally turned to look at her. His eyes were the color of old steel. Not angry, not threatening, just certain. "You call whoever you need to call, ma'am," he said. His voice was gravel and whiskey. Slow, deliberate. "We're here to visit my mother. It's her birthday." The nurse's hand froze halfway to her pocket. Your mother." "That's right. Sir, I don't need you to think, ma'am. I need you to step aside." He walked past her. The others followed. 32 pairs of boots on concrete. A sound like rolling thunder that wouldn't stop. 3 weeks earlier, the diner sat on the edge of Route 66 like a forgotten memory. Red vinyl booths, checkerboard floor, coffee that tasted like it had been brewing since the Carter administration. Colton loved it. He sat in the corner booth, same as always. Wednesday morning, 7:30, same booth, same coffee, same silence. Across from him sat Ray Chains Holloway and Garrett Rev Stone. Ray was 64, built like a fire hydrant, with a beard that looked like steel wool. Rev was 62, thin as a rail, with eyes that never stopped moving. They'd been riding together for 12 years. They didn't talk much. That was the beauty of it. You could sit with a man for an hour and not say a word, and it meant more than all the conversation in the world. The bell above the door chimed. Colton glanced up out of habit. An old woman shuffled in, small, fragile-looking, wearing a cardigan that had seen better decades and orthopedic shoes that squeaked on the linoleum. What caught his attention wasn't the woman herself. It was her eye. The left one was swollen, nearly shut the skin around it, a violent palette of purple and black and sickly yellow. The kind of bruise that didn't come from a fall. The kind that came from a fist. The woman moved to a booth in the far corner, head down, shoulders curved inward like she was trying to make herself invisible. The waitress, a young woman named Jenny, brought her coffee without being asked. That told Colton the old woman was a regular. Ray noticed his stare. "You see that?" "I see it." "You thinking what I'm thinking?" "Probably." Rev leaned back, fingers drumming on the table. "Could be a fall." "Could be," Colton said, but his voice said he didn't believe it. He'd seen enough violence in his 66 years to recognize its signature. Navy mechanic, 22 years on aircraft carriers and shore stations. He'd seen men beaten by their superiors, seen women beaten by their husbands, seen children beaten by the people who were supposed to protect them. The pattern never changed, just the faces. He pushed his coffee aside and stood. Ray grabbed his wrist. "Colt, don't start something we can't finish. I'm just going to talk to her. That's how it always starts." Colton pulled his arm free, gentle but firm. "Then that's how it starts." He crossed the diner in 6 long strides. The old woman didn't look up until his shadow fell across her table. When she did, her good eye widened. Fear, instant and pure. Colton understood. He was 6'2", 220 pounds of weathered muscle and road-worn leather. He looked like exactly the kind of man a small old woman should be afraid of. He softened his voice, made it as gentle as a man like him could make it. "Ma'am, I don't mean to intrude, but are you all right?" She stared at him. The fear didn't leave, but something else joined it. Something like surprise, like she couldn't quite believe someone was asking. "I'm fine," she said. Her voice was thin, brittle, the voice of someone who'd spent a long time convincing herself that fine was good enough. "That eye tells a different story. I fell." Colton didn't respond, just stood there, waited. He'd learned a long time ago that silence could do what words couldn't. Silence gave people room to tell the truth. The old woman's lips trembled. She looked down at her coffee, and for a moment Colton thought she was going to hold the line, going to keep the lie alive. Then she spoke, barely a whisper. "His name is Maddox Crane. He works at the nursing home where I live, Riverside Meadows. He's an orderly. He doesn't like it when we complain." Colton's hands resting on the back of the opposite booth tightened until his knuckles went white. "He did that to you?" A single nod. "Why?" "I told the director he was stealing. He takes things from our rooms, watches, jewelry, little things we brought from home, things that matter." Her voice cracked. "He found out I reported him, so he—" She didn't finish, didn't need to. Colton pulled out the chair across from her and sat down without asking. Up close he could see more. Faint bruises on her wrists, a split on her lower lip that was trying to heal. "What's your name, ma'am?" "Vera. Vera Whitmore." "Vera, my name's Colton. Colton Brennan. My friends call me Ironside." He gestured back to Ray and Rev, who were watching with the intensity of hawks. "Those are my brothers. Not by blood, by choice." Vera's gaze flickered to them, then back to Colton. "You're bikers." "Yes, ma'am." "Are you going to hurt someone?" The question was so direct, so honest, it almost made him smile. Almost. "Not unless they need hurting," he said. Then softer. "But I'm not here to cause you more trouble, Vera. I'm here because I can't sit in that booth and pretend I didn't see what I saw. That's not who I am." Vera studied him, really looked at him. And Colton let her. He'd learned that too. If you wanted someone to trust you, you had to let them see all the way in. No masks, no games. Finally she spoke. "What do you want?" "I want to help, if you'll let me." "How?" Good question. Colton didn't have an answer yet, but he'd learned another thing over 66 years. Sometimes you made the promise first, then figured out how to keep it. "I don't know yet," he admitted, "but I'll figure it out. Do you trust me?" Vera's laugh was bitter, broken. "I don't trust anyone anymore." "Fair enough." Colton leaned back. "Then don't trust me. Just let me try." Silence settled between them. Outside, a semi roared past on Route 66, rattling the windows. The coffee machine hissed and gurgled behind the counter. Jenny refilled someone's cup 3 booths down. Vera's fingers wrapped around her coffee mug. They were thin, spotted with age, trembling just slightly. "My birthday is next week," she said quietly. "October 14th. I'll be 72. Colton waited. "My husband died 10 years ago. Heart attack. George. He was a good man. Navy like you, I think. He always said a man's worth is measured by who stands beside him when the world turns cold." Her voice wavered. "I used to have people who stood beside me. George, my son Wyatt. But Wyatt died 3 years ago. Car accident. He was only 43. I'm sorry. Now it's just me. And nobody stands beside you when you're old and alone. Nobody cares if you fall. Nobody cares if you disappear." She looked up and her eyes were wet. "I'm going to die alone in that place, and when I do, nobody will even notice." Something cracked inside Colton's chest. a sound like old ice breaking. He thought of Linda, thought of how she'd gripped his hand in those final days so tight her nails drew blood, how she'd whispered, "Don't let me go alone. Promise me you won't let me go alone," and he'd promised. He'd sat beside her bed for 72 hours straight, holding her hand until her fingers went cold and still. He'd kept that promise. But who was going to keep it for Vera? He reached across the table, took her hand in his. His hands were rough, calloused, scarred. Hers were soft, fragile, like paper that might tear. "Vera," he said, "I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to think about it before you answer." She nodded. "Would you let me be your son?" The words hung in the air like something solid, something you could reach out and touch. Vera's breath caught. "What? Not legally, not on paper, but—" He struggled for the words. "They didn't come easy. They never did. But in the way that matters. Let me stand beside you. Let me be the person who shows up. Who cares if you fall? Who notices if you disappear?" Tears spilled down Vera's cheeks. "You don't even know me. I know enough. Why would you do this?" "Because I couldn't save Linda. Because I have no children of my own. Because every time I look in the mirror, I see a man who's lived 66 years and still doesn't know what he's supposed to leave behind." But he didn't say any of that. Instead, he said, "Because it's the right thing to do. And because you asked." Vera stared at him. Then slowly she nodded. "Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. Be my son." Her smile was small, fragile, but real. "I'd like that. I'd like that very much." Colton squeezed her hand. "Then it's settled. And next week on your birthday, I'm going to come visit you. And I'm not coming alone." "What do you mean?" "You'll see." Colton returned to his booth. Ray and Rev were still watching, questions written all over their faces. "We got a situation," Colton said. Ray grunted. "I figured. Old woman, Vera Whitmore, lives at Riverside Meadows nursing home. Orderly there named Maddox Crane is beating her, stealing from the residents. Director knows and doesn't care." Rev's jaw tightened. "What are we going to do about it?" "We're going to her birthday party next Wednesday, October 14th. All of us." "All of us?" Ray raised an eyebrow. "You mean the whole club? Every last man? Colt, that's 32 bikes rolling into a nursing home parking lot. You're going to give those old folks heart attacks. Or we're going to give them something they haven't had in a long time." "What's that?" Colton drained his coffee, set the cup down with a soft clink. "Hope. 6 days before the birthday." Colton couldn't leave it alone. Shouldn't have been surprised. He'd never been good at leaving things alone. He rode out to Riverside Meadows that afternoon. Alone. Just to see. Just to understand what he was walking into. The place looked worse in daylight. Institutional. Sterile. The kind of building designed by people who'd never had to live in one. The sign out front was cheerful in that aggressive way that made you distrust it immediately. Riverside Meadows, where every day is golden golden. Right. He parked his bike in the visitor lot and walked inside. The lobby smelled like disinfectant and something else. Something harder to name. Resignation, maybe. The smell of people waiting to die. A woman sat behind the reception desk. Mid-50s, blonde hair sprayed into submission. Name tag read, Lorraine Walsh, Director. "Can I help you?" Her smile was professional. Empty. "I'm here to visit a resident. Vera Whitmore." Lorraine's smile didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. "Are you family?" "I'm her son." "Mrs. Whitmore doesn't have a son. Her son passed away several years ago." "Then I'm a friend. Visiting hours don't start until 2. Colton glanced at the clock on the wall. 1:45. "I can wait." He sat in one of the lobby chairs, hard plastic, designed to be uncomfortable so people wouldn't linger. He didn't care. He'd sat in worse. At exactly 2 o'clock, Lorraine stood. "You can go up now. 2nd floor, room 212. Colton took the stairs. They were narrow, institutional, lit by fluorescent lights that hummed like dying bees. The 2nd floor hallway was quieter, long. The doors on either side were mostly closed, but a few stood open, revealing glimpses of small rooms. Beds, chairs, televisions playing to no one. He found room 212, knocked twice. "Come in." Vera sat in a chair by the window looking out at the parking lot below. She turned when he entered, and her face lit up in a way that made his chest ache. "Colton, you came." "Said I would." "I know, but—" She gestured around the room. "People say a lot of things. Not many follow through." He looked around. The room was small, clean, Impersonal, a bed with white sheets, a dresser with a few framed photos, a television mounted on the wall. It could have been anyone's room, could have been a hotel room. "This is home," he asked. "For now." Vera stood, moving slowly. Her eye looked better. The swelling had gone down, though the bruise was still dark. "Please sit. I don't get many visitors." Colton sat in the chair opposite hers. "Tell me about this place. About Maddox." Vera's expression darkened. "What do you want to know?" "Everything," she told him. Slowly at first, then faster, like a dam breaking. Maddox Crane had been working at Riverside Meadows for 2 years. Young, early 30s. Strong, the kind of strong that made old people nervous. He was supposed to help them, bathe them, dress them, make sure they took their medications. Instead, he terrorized them. Little things at first. Slamming doors, raising his voice, making them feel stupid for needing help. Then bigger things. Stealing, small items that wouldn't be noticed right away. A watch, a ring, a photograph in a silver frame. When residents complained, nothing happened, because Lorraine Walsh, the director, was Maddox's aunt. She covered for him, made excuses, blamed the residents for being forgetful, confused, difficult. And when Vera had gone to Lorraine, directly shown her proof that Maddox had taken a locket that belonged to her mother, Maddox had found out. 2 days later, he'd cornered her in the hall, slammed her against the wall. Told her if she ever complained again, he'd make sure she regretted it. The black eye was his promise. Colton listened to all of it. Didn't interrupt, didn't react. But inside, something cold and hard was forming. When Vera finished, her hands were shaking. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I'm scared all the time now. I'm scared to leave my room, scared to ask for help, scared to be alone." Colton leaned forward. "You're not alone anymore. One man can't stop this." "You're right, one man can't," he smiled. "Just a little, but 32 can." 5 days before the birthday, the clubhouse sat on 10 acres of scraped land 20 miles outside of town. It wasn't much to look at. Corrugated metal building, gravel lot, a few junker bikes in various states of repair. But it was theirs. Inside, the air smelled like motor oil and leather and the ghost of 1,000 cigarettes. The walls were covered with photos, patches, flags, the history of men who'd found something worth holding on to. Colton stood at the head of the long wooden table. 31 men sat around it, ages ranging from 58 to 71. All of them road-worn, battle-scarred. Men who'd lived long enough to know that comfort was a lie, and the only truth was what you could hold in your hands. "Brothers," Colton said, his voice cut through the low rumble of conversation. "I need to tell you about a woman named Vera Whitmore." He told them. Everything. The black eye, the nursing home, Maddox Crane, Lorraine Walsh, the fear in Vera's voice when she said she was going to die alone. When he finished, silence filled the room. Then Ray spoke. "What are you asking, Colt? I'm asking you to ride with me. Wednesday morning, 6 a.m. We show up at Riverside Meadows. All of us. We show Vera she's not alone. We show Maddox Crane that some people push back. And if this Maddox doesn't like it, then he doesn't like it." Rev leaned back in his chair. "You know this could get messy." "I know." "Could get us arrested." "I know that, too." "Could get our clubs shut down." Colton met his eyes. "I know. And I'm not asking you to do this. I'm telling you what I'm doing. And you can choose. Ride with me or don't. But either way, I'm going." Another silence. Longer this time. Then a man at the far end of the table stood. His name was Hank Wrench Peterson. 69 years old. Hands like gnarled tree roots. He'd been riding since before some of the younger guys were born. "I'm in," Wrench said. One by one, the others stood. "I'm in. In. Hell yes, I'm in. Wouldn't miss it." Until all 31 were standing. Ray grinned. "Looks like you got your answer, Colt." Colton nodded. His throat was tight. He didn't trust himself to speak. He didn't need to. Colton went back to Riverside Meadows. This time he wanted to see Maddox Crane with his own eyes. He arrived just after dinner. 7 p.m. The lobby was quieter now. Lorraine was gone. A younger woman sat at the desk, barely looking up from her phone. Colton signed in, headed upstairs. He found Vera in the common room on the second floor. A dozen residents sat in chairs arranged in a semicircle, watching a television that was playing Wheel of Fortune at volume meant for the deaf. Vera saw him and smiled. She looked better, less afraid. "Colton, I didn't expect you today. Thought I'd check in." They sat together in the back of the room, talked quietly while Vanna turned letters in the contestant's guest. He told her about the club, about the 31 men who were riding with him. Vera's eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. No one's ever, she trailed off, shook her head. Thank you. Movement in the doorway caught Colton's attention. A man walked in, early 30s, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing scrubs and an expression that said he owned the room. Maddox Crane. Colton knew it before Vera whispered his name. Maddox moved through the common room like a shark. Didn't look at the residents, didn't acknowledge them. He went to an old man sitting near the window and roughly adjusted his wheelchair. The old man flinched. Sit up straight, Harold, Maddox said, loud, condescending. You're not dead yet. A few of the residents laughed nervously, the kind of laugh that wasn't about humor. It was about survival. Colton's hands tightened into fists. Maddox noticed Vera. His gaze shifted to Colton. Something flickered in his eyes. Assessment, calculation. He walked over, stood too close. Invasion of personal spaces is a power move. Who's this Vera? Maddox's smile didn't reach his eyes. Vera's voice was small. A friend. Funny, I don't remember seeing you on the visitor log. I signed in, Colton said. His voice was level, calm, but underneath steel. What's your name? Colton Brennan. And what's your relationship to Mrs. Whitmore? Like she said, friend. Maddox's smile widened. We don't allow friends here, only family. Are you family? Colton stood, slowly, until he was eye to eye with Maddox, close enough to smell the cheap cologne and the arrogance. Yes, Colton said. I'm her son. Maddox blinked. She doesn't have a son. She does now. For a moment, something dangerous passed between them. A wordless understanding. Two men recognizing each other as threats. Then Maddox laughed. Well, isn't that sweet? Vera found herself a biker daddy. He looked at Vera. Good for you, sweetheart. Scraping the bottom of the barrel, but at least it's something. Colton didn't move, didn't react, just held Maddox's gaze. You should go, Maddox said. Visiting hours are almost over. I'll leave when I'm ready. You'll leave when I tell you to. No, I won't. The room had gone silent. Every resident watching, waiting. Maddox's jaw tightened. He wasn't used to resistance, especially not from someone who looked like they might push back. We'll see, Maddox said. He turned and walked out. Colton sat back down. His heart was pounding, but his hands were steady. Vera grabbed his arm. You shouldn't have done that. He'll make it worse now. Let him try. Colton, Vera. He looked at her. 3 more days. Can you hold on for 3 more days? She nodded. Slowly. Good, because on Wednesday everything changes. Colton sat in his garage, alone, the Softail in front of him, tools spread out on the workbench like surgical instruments. He wasn't working on the bike. It didn't need work. He just needed his hands busy. On the wall above the workbench hung a photograph. Colton and Linda on their wedding day. 1978. He was 22. She was 20. Both of them so young it hurt to look at now. Next to it another photo, smaller, a little boy, 3 years old. Blonde hair, blue eyes, Wyatt. No, not Wyatt. That was Vera's son. This was someone else. Colton stared at the photo, let the memory wash over him like cold water. The boy's name had been Ethan. He and Linda had fostered him for 6 months when they were in their 30s. They'd wanted to adopt, had filled out all the papers, prepared the room, bought the toys. Then the state had taken him back, reunified him with his biological mother. It was the right thing to do, they said. Family came first. 3 months later, Ethan was dead, shaken to death by the mother's boyfriend. Colton and Linda had tried to have children after that, tried for years, but it never happened, and eventually they stopped trying, stopped talking about it. The silence filled the space where a child should have been. Linda had never blamed him, never said it was his fault, but he blamed himself. Should have fought harder for Ethan, should have found a way. Now Linda was gone, Ethan was gone. And Colton was 66 years old with nothing to show for it but scars and an old motorcycle. But maybe that was about to change. Maybe Vera was his second chance, his last chance. He picked up his phone, sent a text to the club group chat, tomorrow morning. 5:30 a.m. meet at the clubhouse, full colors, no exceptions. We ride for Vera. The responses came fast. I'm there. Ray wouldn't miss it. Rev, see you at dawn? Wrench 1 by 1, all 31. Colton set the phone down. Looked back at the photo of Ethan. I couldn't save you, he whispered, but maybe I can save her. The clubhouse parking lot was filled with motorcycles, 32 Harleys gleaming in the pre-dawn darkness. Men stood in small groups sipping coffee from thermoses, their breath misting in the cold air. Colton arrived last, pulled up to the head of the formation, killed the engine. The men gathered around him. "Today's the day," Colton said. No preamble, no speeches. "We ride to Riverside at Meadows. We show Vera she matters. We show Maddox Crane that she's protected. We do this quiet, we do this clean. But we do it." Ray stepped forward. "What if Maddox gets stupid? Then we get smarter. What if the cops show up? We're not breaking any laws. We're visiting a friend. 32 friends visiting one friend. Nothing illegal about that." Rev grinned. "Unless you count being intimidating as hell." A ripple of laughter moved through the group. Colton climbed back onto his bike. "Let's ride." 32 engines roared to life. The sound was biblical, the kind of sound that shook the ground and rattled windows 3 miles away. They rode in formation, 2 columns. Colton at the front. The highway stretched out before them like a promise. The sun rose behind them, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Colton didn't look back. He only looked forward. To Riverside Meadows, to Vera, to whatever came next. The rumble announced them long before they arrived. By the time the first motorcycle turned into the parking lot, nurses and orderlies were already crowding the windows, faces pale, phones in hand. 32 Harleys rolled in like a storm. Chrome and leather, and the promise of something that couldn't be stopped. Colton killed his engine. The others followed. The sudden silence was almost louder than the noise had been. He swung off his bike. His brothers fell in behind him. Not walking, marching, a wall of muscle and conviction and road-tested loyalty. The front doors burst open. Lorraine Walsh appeared, her face red, her voice shrill. "You can't be here. I'm calling the police." Colton stopped 10 feet from her. 31 men at his back. "You call whoever you need to call, ma'am," he said. His voice was calm, final. "We're here to visit my mother. It's her birthday." Lorraine's mouth opened, closed. Your mother?" "That's right. Vera Whitmore, room 212. We're here to celebrate with her. She doesn't have a son." "She does now." Behind Lorraine, Maddox Crane appeared in the doorway. His face was a mask of fury and disbelief. Colton met his eyes, held them, and smiled. "Happy birthday, Vera," he said quietly. "We're here." The standoff lasted exactly 7 seconds. 7 seconds of pure silence, where the only sound was the wind moving through the parking lot and the distant hum of traffic on Route 66. Then Lorraine found her voice. "I don't care who you think you are. You need to leave, now, or I will have every one of you arrested for trespassing." Colton didn't move, didn't blink. "We're not trespassing. We're visiting a resident. That's allowed during visiting hours. Visiting hours don't start until 9. Then we'll wait." He gestured to his brothers. As one, they moved to the picnic tables scattered across the small lawn beside the parking lot. 32 men settling in like they had all the time in the world. Some pulled out cigarettes, others thermoses of coffee. Rev produced a deck of cards and started dealing. Lorraine's face went from red to purple. You can't camp out here." "Watch us," Ray said pleasantly. Maddox stepped forward, chest puffed, fists clenched. He was big, probably used to intimidating people with size alone. But standing in front of 32 bikers, he suddenly looked small. "You need to get the hell out of here, old man," Maddox said, directing his words at Colton, "before this gets ugly." Colton finally moved, 1 step forward, just one. But it was enough to shift the entire dynamic. "Son," Colton said, his voice low and measured, "I've seen ugly. I've lived through ugly. And trust me when I say you don't want to find out what ugly looks like when 32 men decide they've had enough of your particular brand of cowardice." Maddox's jaw worked, his hands trembled. For a moment it looked like he might actually throw a punch. But he didn't, because deep down, bullies always knew when they were outmatched. Instead, he turned and stormed back into the building. Lorraine followed already on her phone, her voice high and panicked. Colton watched them go. Then he turned to his brothers. "We wait," he said. They waited. 15 minutes later, 2 police cruisers pulled into the lot. Not sirens, not rushing, just a slow, measured arrival that said the officers already knew this wasn't going to be the emergency dispatch had made it sound like. The first officer out was a man in his mid-50s, gray hair cropped military short, shoulders that still carried the bearing of someone who'd worn a uniform most of his life. His nameplate read, Chief T. Garrett. He walked straight to Colton. "You the one in charge here?" "Yes, sir. Colton Brennan." "Chief Tom Garrett." Want to tell me what 32 motorcycles are doing at a nursing home at 6 in the morning? Visiting my mother. It's her birthday. Garrett's eyebrow raised. Your mother? Yes, sir. Vera Whitmore, room 212. Director says Mrs. Whitmore doesn't have a son. She does now. Garrett studied him, really looked at him. Colton held his gaze, calm and steady. He'd been questioned by better men than this. Military police, JAG officers, MPs who could smell a lie from across the room. Finally, Garrett nodded. You served. Navy, 22 years, mechanic. Last station was aboard the USS Wisconsin during the Gulf War. Air Force, 30 years, retired as a bird colonel. Garrett glanced at the assembled bikers. These your men? My brothers. And you're here because an old woman who has no one asked me to be someone. And I said yes. Garrett was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked back at the building where Lorraine stood in the window glaring. The director says you're threatening her staff? We haven't threatened anyone. We're sitting, waiting, planning to go inside when visiting hours start and wish Vera a happy birthday. All 32 of you. Yes, sir. That's going to scare the hell out of the residents. Or it's going to show them that someone gives a damn. Garrett's lips twitched, almost a smile. You know I could cite you for disturbing the peace. You could, but you won't. Why's that? Because you know what this is really about, and you know it's not about disturbing anyone's peace. Another long silence. The second officer younger stood by the cruiser, hand resting on his belt, waiting for orders. Garrett turned to him. Davis, go inside. Talk to Mrs. Whitmore. Ask her if she wants these men here. Officer Davis nodded and headed inside. They waited. The sun climbed higher, burning off the morning chill. Birds started calling from the trees that lined the property. Somewhere inside, a phone rang, and no one answered. Davis emerged 10 minutes later, walked straight to Garrett and whispered something. Garrett's expression shifted, just slightly, from neutral to something harder. He turned back to Colton. Mrs. Whitmore says she wants you here. Says you're welcome. Says, he paused, says she wishes her real son had lived to be the man you are. Colton's throat tightened. Garrett stepped closer, lowered his voice so only Colton could hear. She also says an orderly here named Maddox Crane has been abusing residents, stealing from them, and that the director knows and covers for him. That's what I've been told. You planning to do something about that? I'm planning to make sure it stops. How? By being present, by being visible, by making sure that old woman knows she's not alone anymore. Garrett nodded slowly. I'm going to ask you something, and I want an honest answer. Are you planning any violence? No, sir. Not unless someone brings it to us first. And if they do, then we'll defend ourselves. But we won't start it. Garrett looked at him for a long time, measuring, calculating. Then he stepped back. Visiting hours start at 9. You're welcome to wait here until then, but I'm going to have Davis stick around, just in case. Understood. Garrett started toward his cruiser, then stopped, turned back. Brennan. Yes, sir. My mother's in a place like this, up in Kansas City. I get up there maybe twice a year if I'm lucky, and every time I go, I wonder what happens to her the other 363 days. He paused. What you're doing here, it matters. Don't let anyone tell you different. He got in his cruiser and drove away. Officer Davis settled in by his patrol car, arms crossed, expression neutral. Colton returned to the picnic tables. His brothers looked at him with questions in their eyes. We're good, Colton said. We wait until 9, then we go in. Ray grinned. Think they're ready for us? Nobody's ever ready for us. The next 3 hours passed slow and strange. A few residents appeared at windows looking down at the gathered bikers with expressions ranging from fear to curiosity to something that might have been hope. Colton waved at them. Some waved back. At 8:30, a young woman in scrubs emerged from the building. She was mid-20s, dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, eyes nervous but determined. She walked straight to Colton. Are you Mr. Brennan? I am. My name is Sarah. I'm a nurse here. I heard what you're doing. For Mrs. Whitmore. What about it? Sarah glanced back at the building, lowered her voice. I need to tell you something about Maddox. Colton gestured to an empty table. Sit. She sat, twisted her hands together. I've worked here for 2 years, and for 2 years I've watched Maddox hurt people. Not just Mrs. Whitmore. Others. Mr. Patterson in room 309. He's 81. Maddox broke his ribs last month. Claimed he fell. Why didn't you report it? I did, to Lorraine. She said I was mistaken. Said I was overreacting. Said if I kept making accusations, I'd lose my job. Sarah's voice cracked. I have a daughter. She's 3. I'm a single mother. I can't afford to lose this job. Colton understood. Fear had a way of making cowards of good people. What else, he asked. Maddox is stealing medications. Pain pills mostly. OxyContin, fentanyl patches. He takes them from the medication cart and replaces them with placebos. The residents who need them never get them. They suffer. And he sells the real ones. To who? I don't know, but I've seen him make phone calls, meet people in the parking lot after his shift, exchange packages. Ray leaned in. You have proof? I have my word. And if you could get security footage from the medication room, you'd have more. Does Lorraine know about this too? Sarah nodded. She has to. The inventory logs don't match. Someone has to be signing off on the discrepancies. Colton sat back. The picture was getting clearer and uglier. Sarah, he said, would you testify to this if it came to that? She hesitated, then nodded. If you can protect me, if you can make sure I don't lose my job or worse, we'll make sure. She stood. Thank you for caring. Most people don't. Most people should. Sarah walked back to the building, disappeared inside. Rev whistled low. This is bigger than we thought. Always is, Colton said. At exactly 9 o'clock, the front doors opened. Lorraine stood there, arms crossed, expression sour. Visiting hours have started, she announced. You may enter, but I want it on record that I'm allowing this under protest. Colton stood. His brothers followed. 32 men walked toward the entrance. Their boots hit the pavement in rhythm, a sound like a heartbeat, steady, unstoppable. They filed inside. The lobby fell silent. A few residents sat in wheelchairs by the windows. They stared, mouths open, eyes wide. Colton stopped in the center of the lobby, turned to face them. Morning, folks, he said. His voice carried, warm, respectful. We're here to visit Vera Whitmore. It's her birthday. Hope you don't mind the company. An old man in the corner spoke up. His voice was thin, but clear. Are you her son? Yes, sir, I am. The one who died. No, sir, the new one. The old man smiled. Well, I'll be damned. Happy birthday, Vera. A few others echoed the sentiment. Happy birthday, Vera. Colton gestured to the stairs. Lead the way, brothers. They climbed, single file. The stairwell wasn't built for this many men, but they made it work. Colton reached the second floor first. Room 212 was at the end of the hall. The door was open. Vera sat in her chair by the window, hands folded in her lap. She was wearing a blue dress. Her hair was brushed. A little makeup. She'd prepared. When she saw Colton, her face transformed. Pure joy. You came, she whispered. Said I would. But all of you. Colton stepped aside. Let her see. 31 men crowding the hallway, each one holding something. Flowers, cards, small wrapped gifts. Vera's hands flew to her mouth. Tears streamed down her face. One by one, the men entered her room. Each one approached. Each one wished her happy birthday. Some shook her hand, some hugged her gently. Some just nodded with respect so deep it didn't need words. Ray handed her a bouquet of roses. Happy birthday, ma'am. Rev gave her a card signed by everyone. From all of us. Wrench presented a small wooden box he'd carved himself. Made this for you, for your keepsakes. Vera couldn't speak. She just cried and smiled and cried some more. When they'd all greeted her, Colton knelt beside her chair. How are you feeling, Vera? I've never felt better in my life. Good, because we're not done yet. He stood and addressed his brothers. Anyone bring the cake? A man named Dustin Wheels Monroe stepped forward carrying a white bakery box. Inside was a simple birthday cake, chocolate, white frosting, 72 candles. They sang. 32 rough voices in a harmony that wasn't pretty but was real. Happy birthday to you. Vera blew out the candles, made a wish. What did you wish for? Someone asked. That this moment would never end. They stayed for 2 hours, talking, laughing, telling stories. Other residents started appearing in the doorway, drawn by the noise and the life that had suddenly filled the normally silent building. An old woman in a wheelchair rolled up. What's going on here? Birthday party, Ray said. Want some cake? Is it good cake? Best in Missouri. She rolled in. Then yes. More came. Harold Patterson from room 309, the man with the broken ribs. Ruth Cassidy from 218. William Fletcher from 312. Faces that had forgotten how to smile suddenly remembered. The bikers shared their cake, their stories, their presence. Colton watched it all from the corner of the room. Watched his brothers make these old folks feel like they mattered, like they were still part of the world. This was what family looked like. Not blood, not obligation, choice. Then the energy in the room shifted. Maddox appeared in the doorway. The conversations died. The laughter stopped. Maddox's face was twisted with rage. This needs to end now. You're disrupting the entire facility. Colton stepped forward. We're visiting. That's allowed? Not like this. Not with this many people. Show me the rule that says how many people can visit someone on their birthday. Maddox's jaw clenched. I don't need a rule. I'm staff. I'm telling you to leave. And I'm telling you no. The room held its breath. Maddox took a step toward Vera. His hand reached out like he was going to grab her arm. Colton moved faster than a man his age should have been able to move. He was between Maddox and Vera in half a second. His hand caught Maddox's wrist. Don't, Colton said quietly. Maddox tried to pull free. Couldn't. Colton's grip was iron. You're assaulting me, Maddox hissed. I'm preventing you from assaulting her. There's a difference. Let go of me. Apologize to her first. What? You heard me. Apologize to Vera for hitting her, for stealing from her, for making her afraid in the one place she's supposed to be safe. Maddox's face went red. I never... Yes, you did. Colton's voice was still quiet, still calm, but underneath was steel. And everyone in this room knows it, including you. For a moment, it looked like Maddox might actually swing. His free hand balled into a fist. Then a voice cut through the tension. I saw you do it. Everyone turned. Harold Patterson sat in his wheelchair by the door. His voice was shaking but clear. I saw you hit Mrs. Whitmore 2 weeks ago, in the hallway by the medication room. You slammed her against the wall, told her to keep her mouth shut. Ruth Cassidy spoke up next. He stole my mother's ring, the one I wore for 40 years. Took it right off my dresser. William Fletcher. He pushed me down the stairs. Said it was an accident, but it wasn't. One by one, the residents spoke, testifying, finally finding their voices. Maddox's face went from red to white. You can't prove any of this. Maybe not, Colton said, but they can sure as hell try. He released Maddox's wrist, stepped back. Get out, Colton said. Leave this room. Leave these people alone, or I swear to God what happens next won't be legal, but it'll be righteous. Maddox looked around the room, saw 32 men staring at him, saw the residents he'd terrorized finally standing against him. He turned and ran. The room erupted, not in cheers, in something quieter. Relief, release. The sound of people exhaling after holding their breath for too long. Vera grabbed Colton's hand. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This isn't over. Officer Davis appeared in the doorway. He'd been listening, watching. Mr. Brennan, can I speak with you? They stepped into the hallway. Davis kept his voice low. I heard what those residents said. If they're willing to make official statements, I can start an investigation. They're willing. Good. But you should know, Maddox isn't going to take this lying down, and neither is Lorraine Walsh. They're going to fight back. Let them. I'm serious. This could get ugly. Officer Davis, Colton said. I've lived through ugly. I'm not afraid of it anymore. Davis nodded. All right, I'll start taking statements. But I'd suggest you and your friends stick around, just in case. We're not going anywhere. Davis went to talk to Harold. Colton returned to Vera's room. The party continued. Quieter now, more subdued. But still real. At noon they brought lunch, not from the nursing home kitchen, from outside. Ray and Rev rode out and came back with enough barbecue to feed 50 people. They set it up in the common room, turned it into a feast. Residents who hadn't left their rooms in months came out, drawn by the smell, by the life. It was the best birthday party Riverside Meadows had ever seen. By 3 o'clock, exhaustion was setting in. The residents were tired, the bikers were tired, but it was a good tired. Colton sat with Vera in her room, just the two of them. Quiet. Thank you, she said again, for all of this. You don't have to keep thanking me. Yes, I do, because you gave me something I thought I'd never have again. What's that? Hope. Colton squeezed her hand. Vera, he said, I need to ask you something. Anything. What happened to your son, your real son, Wyatt? Vera's smile faded. He died 3 years ago. Car accident. Head-on collision with a drunk driver. I'm sorry. He was a good man, a teacher. He loved his students. He loved his life. She paused. We'd had a fight the week before he died. Something stupid. I don't even remember what it was about. But we didn't speak, and then he was gone. And I never got to tell him I was sorry. You think he knew? I hope so, but I'll never be sure. Colton understood that regret, that not knowing. I had a son once too, he said. Not mine by blood, foster child. His name was Ethan. We had him for 6 months. Linda and I, we loved him. We were going to adopt, but the state took him back, reunified him with his biological mother. 3 months later, he was dead. Vera's hand tightened around his. I think about him every day, Colton continued. Wonder what he would have become. Wonder if I could have saved him if I'd fought harder. You can't think like that. I know, but I do anyway. They sat in silence for a while. Then Vera spoke. Maybe that's why we found each other. Two people carrying the weight of children they couldn't save. Maybe this is our second chance. Maybe it is. Then let's not waste it. Agreed. Downstairs, a commotion, raised voices. Colton stood instantly alert. He left Vera's room and headed for the stairs. Ray was already there. What's happening? Lorraine just came back. She's got someone with her. Colton descended quickly. In the lobby stood Lorraine and a man he didn't recognize. Mid-50s, expensive suit, silver hair, the kind of man who wore his wealth like armor. Who are you? Colton asked. The man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. My name is Vincent Caruso. I own this facility, and I understand we have a problem. Colton's instincts flared. This wasn't good. No problem, Colton said carefully. Just visiting a friend. So I've heard. 32 visitors for one resident. Quite the turnout. It's her birthday. Indeed. Caruso's smile widened. Well, I'm sure Mrs. Whitmore has enjoyed her celebration, but visiting hours are ending soon, and I'd appreciate it if you and your friends would vacate the premises. We'll leave when Vera asks us to leave. I'm asking you to leave, as the owner of this property, and I'm declining, as a visitor with every legal right to be here. Caruso's smile finally faded. Mr. Brennan, I've built a successful business by knowing when to push and when to pull. Right now, I'm pulling. I'm being polite. I'm asking nicely. Don't make me push. What happens when you push? You don't want to find out. Colton stepped closer. Actually, I think I do. For a moment, they stood toe-to-toe. Two men from different worlds, different codes, but both understanding exactly what this was, a line being drawn. We'll see, Caruso said. He turned to Lorraine. Call me if there are any more disruptions. He left. Lorraine glared at Colton. You've made a very powerful enemy. I've made worse. She stormed off. Ray appeared at Colton's shoulder. Who was that? Trouble? What kind? The kind that doesn't go away easy. Colton pulled out his phone. Called Officer Davis. I need you to run a name for me. Vincent Caruso. See what comes up. 20 minutes later, Davis called back. Brennan, you need to hear this. Vincent Caruso owns 12 nursing homes across Missouri, Kansas, and Illinois. But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is he's been under FBI investigation for the last 6 months. For what? Medicare fraud, overbilling, and possibly racketeering. But they don't have enough to charge him yet. Colton's mind raced. What if the medication theft is connected? What medication theft? The nurse here, Sarah, says Maddox has been stealing pain pills. OxyContin, fentanyl, replacing them with placebos and selling the real ones. If Caruso knows about it, then it's not just theft, it's organized crime. Can you prove it? Not without more evidence, but if we could catch Maddox in the act, then maybe we'd have enough to bring down Caruso too. Maybe. But Brennan, listen to me. These aren't small-time crooks. Caruso has lawyers, money, connections. You're playing in the deep end now. Then I'd better learn to swim. Colton hung up, looked at his brothers gathered in the lobby. Change of plans, he said. We're not leaving. What? Rev asked. We're staying. Tonight. All of us. We're going to keep watch. Make sure nothing happens to Vera or any of these residents. Colt, that's what we're doing. Anyone got a problem with that? Silence. Then Wrench spoke up. I'll take first watch. I've got second, Ray said. One by one they volunteered. Lorraine tried to stop them, threatened to call the police. But Officer Davis, still on scene, informed her that as long as they weren't violent or destructive, they had every right to remain in the common areas. So they stayed. As night fell, the nursing home transformed. What had been a place of fear and silence became something else. The bikers spread out through the building. Some sat in the hallways, some in the common rooms, some outside Vera's door, a fortress of leather and loyalty. And somewhere in the darkness, Vincent Caruso made a phone call. "We have a problem," he said. On the other end, someone listened. "Handle it," Caruso ordered. "I don't care how. Just make those bikers disappear." The line went dead. But in room 212, Vera slept peacefully for the first time in months. Because outside her door, Colton Brennan stood watch. And he wasn't alone. The call came at 2 in the morning. Colton stood in the second-floor hallway leaning against the wall outside Vera's room. Ray and Wrench sat in chairs they'd borrowed from the common room, playing cards under the dim emergency lighting. The nursing home was silent, except for the occasional shuffle of feet, the beep of medical equipment, the soft snoring from behind closed doors. His phone vibrated. Unknown number. He answered. "Brennan." Heavy breathing on the other end. Then a woman's voice, young, terrified. "Mr. Brennan, this is Sarah, the nurse." "What's wrong?" "I'm at home. Someone just tried to break into my apartment. I heard them at the door, trying the lock. I called the police, but I think it's connected. To what happened today? To Maddox." Colton's jaw tightened. "Where do you live?" She gave him the address. 10 minutes away. "Lock yourself in the bathroom. I'm sending someone." He hung up, looked at Wrench. "Need you to do something for me." 5 minutes later, Wrench and 2 other brothers were on their bikes headed to Sarah's apartment. Colton called Officer Davis, who was off duty, but answered anyway. "This is escalating," Davis said. "If they're going after witnesses, then we need to move faster. Can you get a warrant for the medication room? Check the inventory logs. Not without probable cause, and right now, all we have is testimony." "Then we get you probable cause." Colton ended the call. Looked at Ray. "We need to catch Maddox in the act, tonight. You think he's stupid enough to come back? I think he's arrogant enough, and desperate enough. If he's been stealing medications to sell, he's got customers waiting. He can't just stop. So we wait. We wait." They didn't have to wait long. At 3:15, the service entrance door opened. Colton heard it from down the hall, the soft click of a lock, the whisper of hinges. He moved silent as smoke. Ray followed. They reached the corner just in time to see a figure slip through the door. Male, medium build. Moving with the confidence of someone who'd done this 100 times. Maddox. He headed straight for the medication room, pulled out a key card, swiped it. The door clicked open. Colton and Ray stayed back, watching, waiting. Inside the medication room, Maddox moved quickly. He pulled out a small black bag, started opening drawers, pulling out pill bottles, fentanyl patches, OxyContin, morphine, replacing them with look-alike containers filled with placebos. Colton pulled out his phone, started recording. Maddox worked for 3 minutes, efficient, practiced. When his bag was full, he zipped it shut, turned toward the door, and found Colton blocking his path. Maddox froze. His eyes went wide, then calculating. "Get out of my way," he said. "Can't do that. This is none of your business. Everything that happens to Vera is my business. Everything that happens in this building is my business. You made it my business when you put your hands on her." Maddox's hand moved toward his pocket. Colton was faster. He grabbed Maddox's wrist, twisted. The young man gasped and dropped to one knee. "Don't," Colton said quietly. Ray moved in, pulled the bag off Maddox's shoulder, opened it, whistled low. "That's got to be $10,000 worth of pharmaceuticals." "Let go of me," Maddox hissed. "You're assaulting me. I'll have you arrested. I'm making a citizen's arrest. There's a difference." Footsteps in the hallway. Officer Davis appeared, called by Ray's text. He took in the scene. Maddox on his knees, the bag of stolen medications. Colton's phone still recording. "Well," Davis said, "looks like we got our probable cause." He pulled out his cuffs. "Maddox Crane, you're under arrest for theft possession of controlled substances with intent to distribute and assault. You have the right to remain silent." As Davis read him his rights, Maddox's face twisted with rage. "You think this is over? You have no idea who you're messing with. Vincent Caruso owns you. He owns this town. He'll bury you." "Let him try," Colton said. Davis hauled Maddox to his feet. Let him out. In the silence that followed, Ray clapped Colton on the shoulder. "One down." "One down," Colton agreed, "but the bigger fish is still swimming." Dawn broke gray and cold. News of Maddox's arrest spread through the nursing home like wildfire. Residents emerged from their rooms with expressions caught between relief and disbelief. Some cried, some laughed. Harold Patterson shook Colton's hand so hard his arm went numb. Lorraine Walsh was nowhere to be found. She'd disappeared sometime during the night. Smart woman. Rats always knew when to abandon ship, but Colton knew this wasn't over. Maddox was small. Caruso was the real target. And men like Caruso didn't go down without a fight. The call came at 8 in the morning. Officer Davis. His voice was tight. Brennan, we have a problem. Maddox made his phone call. Within an hour, he had a lawyer. High-powered, the kind that costs $500 an hour. Caruso's lawyer. Has to be. But that's not the worst part. Davis paused. We just got word that Vera Whitmore has been transferred. Colton's blood went cold. What? I'm looking at the paperwork now, signed last night by Lorraine Walsh. Vera's been moved to another facility. 50 miles north, a place called Riverside Care. That's not possible. Vera didn't authorize that. The paperwork says she did. Says she requested the transfer herself. That's a lie. I know it's a lie. You know it's a lie. But legally, our hands are tied unless Vera herself contests it. Where is she now? According to the transport log, she left at 6 this morning, before anyone knew Maddox had been arrested. Colton was already moving. He burst into Vera's room. Empty. The bed was made. Her few possessions were gone. Like she'd never been there. His hands shook, not with fear, with fury. Ray appeared in the doorway. What happened? They took her. Caruso took her. Where? Some place called Riverside Care, 50 miles north. Then we go get her. It's not that simple. Legally, they had the paperwork. We can't just storm in there. Watch us. Rev joined them, then Wrench, then the others. 31 men filling the hallway, all of them ready. Colton's mind raced. This was a trap. Had to be. Caruso wanted them to come, wanted them to do something stupid, something illegal, something he could use to destroy them. But they couldn't just leave Vera in Caruso's hands. We need to think this through, Colton said. We need a plan. The plan is we go get her, Ray said flatly. And then what? We get arrested for kidnapping, for assault. Caruso wins. Maddox walks. Nothing changes. So what do you suggest? Colton pulled out his phone, called the one person who might be able to help. Chief Garrett answered on the second ring. Brennan, I heard about last night. Good work. We've got a bigger problem. Vera's been transferred against her will. They're holding her at Riverside Care. I think Caruso's using her as leverage. To get you to back off. Exactly. Garrett was quiet for a moment. I can't help you with this one. It's out of my jurisdiction. And if you go up there and cause trouble, there's nothing I can do to protect you. I'm not asking you to protect me. I'm asking for advice. Another pause. Then Garrett's voice dropped. Off the record. Off the record. The FBI has been building a case against Caruso for months, but they need more evidence. If you could get Vera to testify about what she's seen about the medication theft, about the falsified transfer documents, that might be enough. How do I get her to testify if I can't even get to her? And that's your problem. But if you solve it, call this number. He rattled off a phone number. That's Special Agent Monica Reeves. She's lead on the Caruso investigation. Tell her I sent you. The line went dead. Colton looked at his brothers. New plan. We're going to Riverside Care. But we're not going in hot. We're going in smart. They rode out at 9. 32 motorcycles in tight formation. The morning sun burned off the clouds, leaving the sky hard and blue. The wind was cold, autumn giving way to winter. Riverside Care sat on the edge of a small town called Millbrook. It looked almost identical to Riverside Meadows. Same beige brick, same manufactured cheer, same sense of quiet desperation. They parked in the lot. Colton killed his engine. The others followed. This time there was no dramatic entrance, no confrontation. Colton simply walked to the front desk alone and asked to see Vera Whitmore. The receptionist was a woman in her 40s with tired eyes. Are you family? I'm her son. I'll need to see ID. Colton showed his driver's license. The receptionist made a call, whispered, hung up. I'm sorry, Mrs. Whitmore isn't accepting visitors at this time. Why not? Doctor's orders. She's being evaluated. Evaluated for what? I'm not at liberty to say. Colton leaned on the desk, kept his voice calm. Ma'am, I'm going to level with you. Vera didn't choose to come here. She was transferred against her will. And I think you know that. The receptionist's eyes flickered, just for a second. But it was enough. I'm sorry, she repeated. I can't help you. Colton straightened, walked back outside. Ray met him at the bikes. Well, they're stonewalling. She's being evaluated, whatever that means. So we go in anyway. No, we call the FBI. He dialed the number Garrett had given him. It rang twice. Special Agent Reeves. Agent Reeves, my name is Colton Brennan. Chief Tom Garrett told me to call you. It's about Vincent Caruso. I'm listening. Colton explained everything. The abuse at Riverside Meadows, Maddox's arrest, the medication theft, Vera's forced transfer, the fact that she was being held against her will at Riverside Care. When he finished, Reeves was quiet for a long moment. Mr. Brennan, what you're describing could be a pattern of elder abuse and Medicare fraud across multiple facilities. If Mrs. Whitmore is willing to testify, and if we can prove that Caruso orchestrated this transfer to silence her, we might have enough for a warrant. How long will that take? Could be days, could be weeks. We don't have weeks. Every day she's in there, she's in danger. I understand your concern, but I can't move without evidence. Then let me get you evidence. How? I don't know yet, but give me 24 hours. Reeves hesitated. 24 hours. But Mr. Brennan, if you do anything illegal, I can't protect you. I'm not asking you to. He hung up, looked at his brothers. We need to get inside that building. We need to talk to Vera, and we need to do it without getting arrested. Rev spoke up. I might have an idea. 2 hours later, Rev returned with a man named Marcus Yates, mid-60s, former private investigator, specialized in elder care cases. He'd helped Rev's mother navigate a similar situation 5 years ago. Marcus studied the building through binoculars. Security's light, 2 cameras at the entrance, 1 at the service door. But there's a delivery entrance on the east side, no camera coverage. Can you get us in? Colton asked. I can get 1 person in, maybe 2, but not 32. I only need 1. You, me. Marcus nodded. Then here's what we do. At 11 that night, a delivery truck pulled up to Riverside Care's east entrance. The driver was Marcus. The cargo was medical supplies. Standard delivery. Nothing unusual. Except hidden in the back beneath the crates was Colton. The truck stopped. Marcus got out, rang the bell. An orderly appeared. Checked the invoice, opened the door. Marcus started unloading. The orderly helped. While they worked, Colton slipped out of the truck, stayed low, moved along the wall. The service hallway was empty. He moved fast, checking door numbers. Residents were kept on the 2nd and 3rd floors. He took the stairs. 2nd floor. Quieter here. Most of the rooms were dark. He moved from door to door, checking names on the placards. There. Room 224, Whitmore V. He tried the door. Locked. He pulled out the lockpick set Rev had given him. 30 seconds later, the lock clicked. He pushed the door open, slipped inside. The room was dark except for the faint glow of a nightlight. In the bed, a small figure lay still. Vera, he whispered. The figure stirred, turned, eyes open. Colton! Relief flooded through him. It's me! She sat up. How did you... What are you doing here? Getting you out? I can't leave. They said if I tried to leave, they'd have me declared incompetent. They'd make me a ward of the state. They're lying. That's not how it works. How do you know? Because I talked to a lawyer. A real one. Not one of Caruso's. Tears welled in her eyes. I was so scared. They put me in a van this morning. Wouldn't tell me where we were going. When I got here, they took my phone. Locked me in this room. Said it was for my own good. Colton sat on the edge of the bed. Took her hand. Listen to me. The FBI is investigating Caruso. They think he's running a fraud operation across all his facilities. But they need testimony. They need you to tell them what you saw. What happened? Will I be safe? I'll make sure of it. You promise. I promise. She nodded. Then I'll do it. Good. But first we need to get you out of here. How? Same way I got in. Can you walk? I think so. He helped her to her feet. She was unsteady but strong enough. They moved to the door. Colton checked the hallway. Empty. They moved quickly. Down the hall, toward the stairs. They were halfway there when a door opened. An orderly stepped out. Saw them. Hey, what are you doing? Colton didn't answer. Just kept moving. Vera's hand tight in his. Stop. The orderly grabbed his radio. Security, we have a situation on 2. Resident trying to leave with an unauthorized visitor. Footsteps, heavy, running. Colton picked up the pace. They reached the stairs, started down. Behind them, shouts. More footsteps. They hit the 1st floor. Colton could see the service entrance. 50 feet, 40. 2 security guards appeared, blocking the way. Sir, you need to stop right now. Colton kept walking. This woman is leaving. You can step aside or you can explain to the FBI why you prevented her. The FBI? That's right. Special Agent Monica Reeves. Call her if you don't believe me. The guards looked at each other, uncertain. That moment of hesitation was all Colton needed. He pushed past them. Vera still at his side. They burst through the service door. The delivery truck was waiting, engine running. Marcus at the wheel. "Get in!" Colton lifted Vera into the passenger seat, climbed in after her. Marcus hit the gas. They were 2 blocks away before anyone thought to follow. Colton pulled out his phone, called Reeves. "Agent Reeves, this is Colton Brennan. I have Vera Whitmore. She's safe and she's ready to talk." 3 hours later, they sat in an FBI field office in Kansas City. Vera in a conference room with Agent Reeves and 2 other agents. Colton in the hallway outside, waiting with his brothers. Ray brought him coffee. "Think it'll be enough?" "It has to be." Colton stared at the conference room door. Thought about Vera in there, reliving the fear, the abuse, the helplessness. He pulled out his wallet, opened it. Inside was a photograph he'd carried for 20 years. A little boy, 3 years old, blonde hair, blue eyes, Ethan. Ray glanced over. "That him?" Colton nodded. "Ethan. We had him for 6 months. Linda and I, we were going to adopt." "What happened?" "State took him back, reunified him with his biological mother." Colton's voice was flat, empty. 3 months later, he was dead, shaken to death by the mother's boyfriend. Ray was quiet for a moment. "That's why you did this, for Vera." "I couldn't save Ethan. Maybe I can save her." "You already have." Colton looked at the photo, at the little boy's smile. "I hope so." At midnight, the conference room door opened. Reeves stepped out. Her expression was unreadable. "We have enough for a warrant," she said. "Federal agents are moving on all 12 of Caruso's facilities right now. We're seizing records, interviewing staff, building the case." "And Caruso? He'll be arrested by morning." Colton felt something release in his chest, something he'd been holding tight for days. Vera. She's one of the bravest people I've ever met. What she went through, what she's willing to testify to, it's going to put a lot of bad people away. "Can I see her?" Reeves stepped aside. "She's asking for you." Colton entered the conference room. Vera sat at the table, looking small and tired, but somehow stronger than before. "Hey," he said. "Hey," she smiled. "I did it. I told them everything. I'm proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you, without your brothers, without—" her voice cracked, "without someone believing me." Colton sat beside her, pulled out his wallet, opened it to show Ethan's photo. "This is why I had to help you," he said quietly. "His name was Ethan. Linda and I fostered him. We loved him. We were going to adopt him. But we lost him. And I've spent 20 years asking myself if I could have done more, if I could have fought harder." Vera looked at the photo, then at Colton. "He looks like he was a happy little boy." He was. For 6 months he was. And you gave him that. 6 months of happiness. 6 months of love. That matters, Colton, even if it wasn't forever. Colton's throat tightened. "With you, I get another chance to stand up for someone who needs it, to not walk away, to keep my promise." Vera took his hand, squeezed it. "Then we're giving each other second chances, because you're teaching me that family isn't about who you lose. It's about who you find." They sat together in silence. 2 people who'd lost so much, finding something new in the wreckage. 2 weeks later, they stood in a small courtroom in Springfield, Missouri. Judge Eleanor Harding presided, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Before her, Colton and Vera, and a stack of paperwork. "This is highly unusual," Judge Harding said. "Adult adoption is rare, especially between individuals of your respective ages." "I understand, Your Honor," Colton said, "but unusual doesn't mean wrong. Tell me why you're doing this, Mr. Brennan." Colton looked at Vera, then back at the judge. "Because family isn't about blood. It's about choice. It's about standing beside someone when the world turns cold. It's about keeping promises." He paused. "Vera asked me to be her son, and I said yes. Now I want to make it official." Judge Harding looked at Vera. "Mrs. Whitmore, is this what you want?" "More than anything, Your Honor." The judge studied them both. Then she signed the papers. "Congratulations. Legally, you are now mother and son." Outside the courtroom, 31 bikers waited. When Colton and Vera emerged, they erupted in cheers. Rev handed Vera a leather vest. On the back, embroidered in silver thread, Road Brothers MC, family member. Vera held it like it was made of gold. "I can wear this." "You earned it," Rev said. She put it on, stood taller. That night, they gathered at the clubhouse. Not just the bikers, but residents from Riverside Meadows. Harold, Ruth, William, Sarah the nurse, Officer Davis, Chief Garrett, Even Judge Harding stopped by. A celebration, not just of Vera's adoption, but of something bigger. A community coming together. A victory against people who thought they were untouchable. Caruso had been arrested, charged with racketeering, Medicare fraud, and conspiracy. His 12 nursing homes were being investigated. Staff fired, policies changed, residents given voice. It wasn't perfect. Justice never was, but it was something. As the party wound down, Colton found himself standing outside, looking up at the stars. Linda would have loved this, would have loved Vera, would have been proud. Vera joined him. What are you thinking about? My wife, Linda, wishing she could have met you. Tell me about her. So he did, told her about Linda's laugh, her stubbornness, the way she'd held his hand even when the pain was unbearable, the promise he'd made to never let her go alone. When he finished, Vera was crying. She sounds wonderful. She was. Do you think, Vera hesitated, do you think she'd approve of me, of us? Colton put his arm around her shoulders. I think she'd say I finally did something right. They stood together, mother and son, watching the stars. A car pulled into the gravel lot. Colton didn't recognize it. A newer sedan. Clean. Out of place among the motorcycles. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out, early 40s, tall, thin, wearing jeans and a button-down shirt. He stood by the car for a moment, looking at the clubhouse like he wasn't sure he should be there. Colton's breath stopped. Michael, his son, the son he hadn't seen in 15 years. Vera felt him tense. Who is that? Colton couldn't speak, just stared. Michael walked forward slowly, stopped 10 feet away. His face was older, lines around his eyes, gray in his hair that hadn't been there before. But it was him, unmistakably him. Hi, Dad, Michael said quietly. The word hit Colton like a physical blow. Dad, he hadn't heard Michael call him that in 15 years. Michael, Colton managed. How did you? I saw the news about Vincent Caruso's arrest, about an old woman and a biker who became her son. Michael smiled, small, tentative. I thought maybe if you could do that for a stranger, maybe there was hope for us. Behind Michael, the passenger door opened. A little girl climbed out, 8 years old, dark hair and pigtails, big eyes. She ran to Michael's side, grabbed his hand. Is that him? She whispered, loud enough for Colton to hear. Michael nodded. Yes, sweetheart, that's your grandpa. Colton felt the world tilt. Grandpa, he had a granddaughter, and he hadn't known. Her name is Sophie, Michael said. She's 8. She's been asking about you for 3 years, asking why she didn't have a grandfather like the other kids at school. What did you tell her? Colton's voice was rough. I told her the truth, that I had a father, but we had a fight, and I left, and I didn't know if he'd want to see me again. Michael, let me finish, please. Michael took a breath. 15 years ago, I told you I was gay, and you said things I know you believed at the time, things that made me think you'd never accept me, never accept who I am. So I left, and I built a life, found a husband, started a family, and I told myself I didn't need you. He looked at Sophie, then back at Colton. But that was a lie, because every time Sophie asked about you, I realized something. I was keeping her from knowing her grandfather because I was scared. Scared you'd reject her the way I thought you rejected me. And then I saw you on the news. Saw you adopt a woman you barely knew because she needed family. And I thought, if he can do that, maybe I was wrong about him. Colton stepped forward, stopped. His hands were shaking. You weren't wrong, he said. I said terrible things, unforgivable things. I let my fear and my ignorance make me into someone I'm ashamed of. And I've spent 15 years wishing I could take it back. You can't take it back. I know. But maybe, Michael's voice cracked. Maybe we can start over. I don't deserve that. No, you don't. But Sophie deserves a grandfather. And I deserve a father who doesn't hate who I am. So I'm asking, are you willing to try? Colton looked at his son, at the man he'd become. Strong, brave. Everything Colton had failed to be 15 years ago. Then he looked at Sophie, at the little girl who was watching him with hope and fear in equal measure. He thought of Ethan, the little boy he couldn't save. He thought of Vera, the woman who'd given him a second chance. And he thought of Linda, who'd begged him on her deathbed to find Michael, to make peace, to not die alone the way she had. Yes, Colton said, I'm willing to try. Michael's face crumpled. Relief, joy, pain. All at once, Sophie let go of Michael's hand, walked forward, stopped in front of Colton. "Hi, Grandpa," she said. Colton knelt down, eye level with her. "Hi, Sophie. My dad says you ride a motorcycle." "I do. Can I see it?" Colton looked up at Michael. Michael nodded. "Come on," Colton said. He took Sophie's hand, led her to his softail, lifted her onto the seat. She giggled, grabbed the handlebars. "It's so big. You'll grow into it." Michael walked over, stood beside Colton. They watched Sophie pretend to ride, making engine noises with her mouth. "I have a husband," Michael said quietly. "His name is David. He's a teacher. He's good to me. Good to Sophie. I'd like to meet him. You would?" "Yes." Michael nodded, swallowed hard. "And I need you to know, I'm not ashamed of who I am. I'm not ashamed of my family. If you can't accept that, then this won't work. I'm not asking you to be ashamed. I'm asking you to forgive me for being a coward, for letting fear make me cruel. It's not that simple." "I know." They stood in silence. Sophie revved the imaginary engine. "I named her Sophie," Michael said, "after Mom's mother. I wanted to keep some connection to the family, even if I'd left it behind." Colton's throat closed. Linda would have loved her. "I know. I wish Mom had gotten to meet her." "She knew about Sophie," Michael nodded. "I sent Mom letters every year, told her about my life, about Sophie. I didn't know if she read them, but I sent them anyway." "She read them." Colton's voice was barely a whisper. "She kept them in a box by her bed, read them over and over, especially toward the end." "Why didn't she tell you?" "Because I told her not to. I said if she had contact with you, I didn't want to know about it." Colton closed his eyes. "I was so stupid, so proud, and it cost me 15 years with my son. We both lost time. But I'm the one who threw it away." Michael was quiet for a long moment. Then, "You can't change the past, Dad, but you can choose what happens next." Sophie climbed off the bike, ran back to them. "Grandpa, can I ride for real someday?" "When you're older, if your dad says it's okay." She turned to Michael. "Can I?" Michael smiled. "We'll see." Vera appeared in the doorway of the clubhouse, saw Colton with Michael and Sophie. Her hand went to her mouth. Colton waved her over. "Vera, come here. I want you to meet someone." She walked over slowly, taking in the scene. "This is my son, Michael," Colton said. The words felt foreign, wonderful. "And my granddaughter, Sophie." Vera's eyes filled with tears. "Your son." We're trying again," Michael said. Vera looked at Colton, then at Michael. Then she did something unexpected. She hugged Michael. "Welcome back," she whispered. "Your father's been waiting for you." Michael hugged her back. "Thank you. For whatever you did, for giving him a reason to try." "He gave himself the reason. I just reminded him it was there." They went inside. The party was still going. When the bikers saw Michael and Sophie, they made room, brought out more food, more chairs. Sophie was shy at first. Then Ray showed her a magic trick, made a quarter disappear. She laughed, demanded he do it again. Michael sat beside Colton at the long table. They didn't talk much, didn't need to, just sat, together, for the first time in 15 years. At one point, Sophie climbed into Colton's lap, put her head on his chest. "You're warm, Grandpa," she said. "Am I?" "Uh-huh. And you smell like oil and leather. That's the motorcycle. I like it." She fell asleep there in his arms, trusting, safe. Colton looked at Michael. Michael was watching them, tears on his face. "Thank you," Colton said quietly. "For what?" "For giving me another chance, for bringing her here, for being brave enough to try when I didn't deserve it. You're trying now, that's what matters. I wasted so much time. Then don't waste any more." As the night wore on, people started to leave, hugging Vera, congratulating Colton, welcoming Michael and Sophie into the family. Because that's what they were now. Family. 3 months later, Thanksgiving. Vera had moved out of Riverside Meadows, not into another nursing home, into a small house near the clubhouse. 2 bedrooms, a porch, a garden she was already planning for spring. Colton had helped her move, had spent weekends fixing the place up, painting walls, repairing the fence, making it home. Today the house was full. 32 bikers crowded into the living room and kitchen. Harold, Ruth, and William had come, Sarah and her daughter, Officer Davis and his family, Chief Garrett and his wife, and Michael, with his husband David, and Sophie. The turkey was massive, the sides endless. Vera had cooked for 3 days straight, insisting she didn't need help. This was what mothers did. They sat wherever they could find space. Chairs, floor, standing. It didn't matter. Vera stood at the head of the table, raised her glass. "I want to say something," she said. Her voice was steady, clear. "A year ago, I thought I was going to die alone. I thought nobody cared, nobody remembered. I was just waiting." She looked around the room, at all the faces. Then a man walked into a diner and asked if I was okay, and everything changed. Not because he saved me, but because he saw me, because he chose to care when he didn't have to. Her eyes found Colton's. "You gave me a family, and in doing that, you gave me a reason to keep going. Thank you for being my son, for being proof that it's never too late. That family isn't about who raised you. It's about who refuses to leave you behind." Colton's throat was tight. He stood, walked to her, hugged her. "Thank you for letting me be your son," he whispered. The room erupted in applause. Michael stood next. "I want to say something too." The room quieted. 15 years ago, I walked away from my father. I told myself it was because he didn't accept me, and that was true. But it was also because I was scared. Scared that if I stayed, I'd have to keep fighting, keep proving I was worthy of being his son. He looked at Colton. But this year, I watched my father become someone else's son. Watched him choose family over pride, over fear. And I realized something. People can change, if they want to badly enough. Michael's voice cracked. "Dad, I'm not saying I forgot what happened. I'm not saying it doesn't still hurt. But I'm saying I forgive you, and I'm grateful. Grateful that Sophie gets to know her grandfather. Grateful that I get my father back, even if it took us 15 years to get here." Colton stood, walked to Michael. They embraced, long, tight. The kind of hug that said everything words couldn't. Sophie tugged on Colton's sleeve. "Grandpa, did you and Daddy used to fight?" "We did, sweetheart. But you're friends now." "Better than friends. We're family." "Good, because I like having a grandpa." She hugged his leg. Colton picked her up, held her close. David, Michael's husband, raised his glass. "To second chances." "To second chances," everyone echoed. They ate, they laughed, they told stories. Harold told about his days as an engineer. Ruth about nursing during the Korean War. William about teaching high school English for 40 years. Michael told about meeting David, about adopting Sophie, about building a life from scratch when he thought he'd lost everything. The bikers told their stories too. Roads traveled, brothers lost, lessons learned the hard way. And through it all, Vera sat at the head of the table, smiling, whole. As the evening wound down, Colton stepped outside. Needed air, needed quiet. Ray joined him. "Hell of a day. Hell of a year." "You did good, Colt. Real good." "We all did." "True?" Ray lit a cigarette. "So what's next?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, there's got to be more Veras out there. More people who need someone to stand beside them." Colton looked at the house, at the light spilling from the windows, at the family he'd found when he wasn't even looking. "Then I guess we keep riding," he said. "We keep showing up. We keep proving that brotherhood means something." "Sounds like a plan." They stood in comfortable silence. Brothers, family. Inside, someone started singing. Off-key but enthusiastic. Others joined in. A Thanksgiving hymn that nobody quite remembered all the words to. Colton smiled. This was what mattered. Not the miles ridden, not the battles fought, but the moments in between. The quiet ones. The ones where you stood beside someone and said without words, "You matter. I'm here. You're not forgotten." And you meant it. Vera appeared in the doorway. "Colton, are you coming back in? We're about to have pie." "Be right there, Mom." The words still felt new, but good. "Right." Michael appeared behind her, Sophie on his shoulders. "Dad, Sophie wants to know if you'll teach her to ride when she's older." Colton looked at his granddaughter, at her bright eyes and hopeful smile. "Absolutely," he said. "But we start with the basics. Safety first, respect for the machine, and always take care of your brothers on the road." "Even the girl brothers?" Sophie asked. "Especially the girl brothers." She grinned. Colton went inside, back to the warmth, back to the noise, back to the family that had chosen him as much as he'd chosen them. On the mantel, 3 photographs stood in a row. One of Linda, smiling, young, full of life. One of Ethan, the little boy he couldn't save, the ghost that had haunted him for 20 years, and one new addition, taken just last week. Colton, Vera, Michael, David, and Sophie. All of them together. All of them smiling. Family. Not the one he was born into. Not the one he'd lost. But the one he'd found. And somewhere in the night, 32 motorcycles sat silent in the lot outside, ready for the next sunrise, the next road, the next person who needed to know they weren't alone. Because that's what they did. That's who they were, the Road Brothers. And they always kept their promises. Always.